Hey, what's going on? BJ Rains here, BlueTurfSports.com, the Idaho Press Tribune. We're in Las Vegas at the Cosmopolitan Hotel and Casino, the Condesa Ballrooms to be exact. We're getting ready for the start of Mountain West Media Days on Tuesday morning. Bright and early, they'll release the all-conference teams there about 7 a.m. Pacific time. We'll find out whether it's Brett Rypien or Josh Allen as the first-team quarterback. We'll find out Boise State or Colorado State as the favorites to win the Mountain Division. A lot going on Tuesday. The West Division will speak on Tuesday. The Mountain Division will speak on Wednesday. Asked for some questions on our Twitter account. My personal account is at BJ Rains, also at Blue Turf Sports on Twitter. Make sure you're following both accounts for up to the minute coverage of Boise State football at the Media Days here in Las Vegas. Asked for some questions today on Twitter, kind of previewing the Media Days, and I picked out some that we wanted to talk about here for a couple minutes. First one comes from Kevin Hyatt. He says, Nick Crabtree, didn't see him on the depth chart. Is he still a tight end, or what's up with that? There was a lot of interesting stuff, actually, that came out with the release of the depth chart that came out on Sunday night, and one of them, yes, was Nick Crabtree wasn't on there. They listed 6 tight ends. The one tight end they did not list was Nick Crabtree, so that's one of the questions we have for Brian Harsin. I don't really have a great answer on that. I understand he may have switched numbers, which maybe means he's going to switch to a fullback position. We'll have to wait and see, but as of now, he is still a tight end on the roster, and so we'll ask Brian Harsin about that. But again, 7 tight ends. It's pretty hard for Boise State to get 7 tight ends into the action, so maybe they see that as a way where they'll just play 6 this year, and maybe there's another position there for Nick Crabtree, but that is certainly a position to watch. Dayton Robinson wants to know, what role do you see for Montel Kozar? You know, he was listed on the depth chart as the backup quarterback. He is the number 2 quarterback behind Brett Rypien. Jake Constantine is listed as number 3. No real surprise there. They wanted to bring in kind of a veteran guy. They lost Tommy Stewart. Then they lost Rypien Reisdorf. Both are guys that were going to be the backup quarterback, so they get a graduate transfer in Montel Kozar from Kansas. Me being a Kansas alum, I actually followed Montel for the last couple of years. I thought he was a pretty good player. Didn't think he had much talent around him. Obviously is good at running the ball. He's a dual threat guy. I think there might be a role for him. They really talked about with Rypien Reisdorf wanting to have him run some option packages, be a guy in short yardage situations they could use to kind of mix things up. In that Air Force game last year at the goal line, they couldn't get it in from first and goal. They've had some red zone turnovers in the bowl game. Maybe this is a situation where Montel Kozar can get in there and play. You know, they haven't had an actual practice with him as the quarterback. My understanding is the coaches and players really like him and his attitude, but until they get into fall camp, really don't know what the role is going to be for Montel Kozar. But I could see a scenario where he gets some snaps in packages just like they planned to use Rypien Reisdorf for before he left the program after spring ball. So that's another question we have for Brian Harsin. Josh DeAnza wants to know, only 6 wide receivers on the depth chart. Any concern there? And he says also, do you expect any freshmen to step in and play? All 3 freshmen, I think, have a chance. There's 6 wide receivers on the depth chart, but you've got a Killian Butler as one of the backups, also Austin Cottrell and Brian Jefferson. The 3 starters right now, obviously you have Cedric Wilson, and then you have A.J. Richardson and Sean Modster, but not a lot of experience there behind the starter Cedric Wilson. Just not a lot of production. None of the receivers have really done much behind Wilson. You have Spurbeck and Anderson moving on, so that's actually one of my biggest concerns going into the season is the wide receiver depth, the wide receiver position. Who is going to be the guy that steps up and has 40, 50 catches this year? Because a guy like Sean Modster, I think, had 13 catches last year. So that's a big question for me, a big concern for me. And yes, he asked about the freshmen. Josh, I do think there's a good chance you could see at least one of the freshmen make the rotation. We'll just have to kind of wait and see as the fall camp progresses which one that is, but I know they're going to give those 3 guys. They like all 3 of them, and don't forget a new wide receivers coach this year as well. So that's something where they think Eric Kiesau can come in, fresh start. All these guys have a clean slate, and if the freshmen are good enough, they're going to play. So we'll see what's up there. Matt wants to know the roster on the website, the Boise State website, broncosports.com. When is that going to be updated? Usually the first day of fall practice. They update that with the new heights and weights. So we'll find out probably the first day of practice there. Eddie Zappetta wants to know the biggest newcomer to emerge. Who do I think it could be? I'll give you a couple of names. You think, offensively, you look at the running back position, I think either Robert Mahone or Drake Beasley, one of those guys is going to have to step up. Obviously, Alexander Madison played a lot last season as a true freshman. He's the number 1 running back, but they're going to have a couple other guys really step up at the running back position. Robert Mahone redshirted last year. Drake Beasley was a true freshman. One of those 2 guys probably really going to have to get some significant carries at running back. So I would pick them. Staying on the offensive side of the ball, the offensive line. Ezra Cleveland is a guy that's slated to start at tackle right now, left tackle, as a redshirt freshman. So he might be one of the guys, one of the most exciting, intriguing guys on the whole team in terms of young players. Redshirted last year, now redshirt freshman, 6'6", over 300 pounds. He's going to start on the line. It looks like right now at left tackle. So Ezra Cleveland, they're very high on him. He is a guy to keep in mind and a name to watch, certainly on offense. You look at defense. I mean, I don't know if they're newcomers, but certainly some of the guys in the secondary, DeAndre Pierce, Kekoa Nawahini, didn't play a ton last year, played some, but those are guys that are going to step into starting roles this year. Reed Harrison-Ducro should be a guy that plays more. Braden Boyd and Jacob Inda, two linebackers. Inda is a junior college transfer. Braden Boyd is a true freshman. Both those guys are expected to contribute right away as freshmen as well, so I'd keep an eye on those guys. Brent Mai has a couple questions. He wants to know if the Bronco D has figured out the option. Well, only time will tell. We'll find out. They've obviously lost 3 years in a row to Air Force. They did beat New Mexico last year pretty badly. We'll find out if they have. I know they put more time on it in the spring. More practices in the spring were put on the triple option. So that's always a big question going into camp. And again, we just don't know the answer right now. We'll find out when the season starts, where the coaches feel like they have a pretty good idea there. Brent also wants to know, Brett Rypien, is he an NFL prospect? I certainly think he can be, but he needs to play better than he did last year. I don't think he took the step forward that he needed to make, and that's actually the story that I'm writing kind of for the preview, the cover story for our tab this year. Our big preseason preview is on Brett Rypien and the expectations for him to kind of have this is a big year for him. He needs to take a step forward in his development, step forward in his production. He had a good year last year, but in the times where he struggled were really the key points of Boise State's losses. Obviously, the Wyoming game, he struggled at key times. The Air Force game certainly struggled. And in the bowl game against Baylor, he struggled with 3 turnovers down there on the other side of the field. So he's got to play better, particularly in big games. And so I think this is a big year for him. I think he is an NFL prospect. He's got the size, but he needs to have a big year this year. I don't think he's a candidate to leave early. But he needs to have a big year this year, certainly to put himself on the radar for that. But again, BlueTurfSports.com is the website. Idaho Press Tribune as well. I'm BJ Rains. Having a lot of fun down here in Las Vegas. Again, bright and early Tuesday morning, we're going to get things going. Appreciate your questions. Keep checking the website often. You can reach out to me on Twitter at BJ Rains as well if you have any questions. I'll just say this. I'm excited for the season. I think I've mentioned it before, but the whole Brett Rypien, Josh Allen debate at quarterback, I think is going to be fascinating. Which quarterback is the first team All-Mountain West quarterback Tuesday morning is going to be fascinating. How that battle between them plays out the whole season should be fascinating. I mean, Josh Allen's possibly a top 5 NFL draft pick, and yet Brett Rypien was the first team All-Mountain West quarterback last season. So I think that's going to be very interesting to watch. You have all the coaches down here, all the players. It should just be a lot of fun down here at Media Days, and a lot of stuff to ask Brian Harsin about. Brett Rypien, David Moa are the 2 players representing the Broncos. So again, they've had this Mountain West division where the 2 divisions play in the championship game 4 times so far, and Boise State's only won the Mountain Division 1 time out of the 4. So big year for the Broncos. We'll find out what kind of hype is around them as we get set for Mountain West Media Days Tuesday and Wednesday. I think they're going to be a little more under the radar this year, which I don't think fans maybe are too disappointed about, but I don't think they're going to have the huge high expectations as they've had in years past. Now, will they be picked to win their division? Probably so. I think there's a chance Colorado State could get it, but I think it's probably going to be Boise State. So should be interesting to see what happens there. And I just think nationally there's not a lot of talk about Boise State. Maybe that's kind of playing into what they want this year. A little quieter, a little less excitement about them, and maybe they're able to kind of surprise some folks and get it going. So we will have complete coverage Tuesday and Wednesday all day. We're starting bright and early, 8 a.m. Mountain Time back in Boise on Tuesday when they release the all-conference teams, the preseason predicted order of finish, and then we'll get into the West Division on Tuesday, the Mountain Division with Coach Harsin and the players on Wednesday. Tons of coverage here at BlueTurfSports.com. Again, please follow us on Twitter. Make sure to like us on Facebook. We're going to have a lot of videos there as well. Appreciate it, folks. I'm BJ Rains. Hope you're having a great Monday afternoon, Monday evening here. And again, Mountain West Media Days are here. The first practice of the season is August 1st. So football season's here, folks. Enjoy it and keep it tuned to BlueTurfSports.com.